Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Mitko Karshovski, and welcome to episode 105 of That Remote Life podcast, where we hear from location independent entrepreneurs and professionals so you can learn to quit the cubicle and live life on your terms. Today on the podcast, I am joined by Julia Jerg to discuss a topic I know nothing about, but have received a lot of questions recently, and that is living as a digital nomad with kids. Julia and her partner are full-time nomads with two young boys, and both of their kids are not only being raised as digital nomads, but were in fact born as digital nomads because by the time Julia got pregnant for the first time, her and her partner had been nomading for 5 years. So, in this episode, I got to ask Julia about what it's like to be a digital nomad with children, how she met her partner while traveling full time, and why they decided to have kids in the first place. We also talked about what it's like to be pregnant and traveling full time, how to decide where in the world to give birth, traveling with young kids, schooling, and much, much more. If you're a parent who wants to explore the digital nomad lifestyle with your young ones, or a digital nomad and thinking about having kids, this episode will answer many of your questions. But before we jump into the episode, I'd love to hear what you think about this podcast. I've made it very easy to leave a review. All you have to do is just head over to ratethispodcast.com/TRL and write your review. That's it. It's just that easy. Just go over to that URL, type it in, and you'll be sent over to my review link. If you're enjoying this podcast, leaving a review is one of the best ways to support us. Reviews are still a key statistic that podcast platforms like Apple and Spotify look at in order to determine how to rank a podcast. So your review will directly help us climb the rank boards and attract new listeners. So thank you in advance for leaving a review if you choose to do so. If you want to check out the full show notes and a list of resources mentioned on this episode, you can do so over at thatremotelife.com/episode 105. That's episode all spelled out, followed by the number 105. All right, guys, without further ado, let's dive into this fascinating interview with Julia Jerg. All right, Julia, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm super stoked to have you on because we're going to cover a topic that uh, we've never talked about before on the show. And I have zero experience with, which is having kids and specifically how to be a digital nomad with kids. And so I'm super excited to have you on here. I constantly get questions about this. And I'm like, listen, I have no idea because I don't have kids. I'm not anywhere close to having kids. So I'm super excited to have you on to essentially cover this. How many kids do you have, kind of like off the bat so that we know a little bit more about you? How many kids do you have and how old are they?
Sure. Let me think how many kids do I have. No, I'm just kidding. I do have two kids. My eldest one will turn 4 in May, and the little one will turn 2 in May. So they're 2 years apart. They're toddlers. They're really busy and very lively little creatures. So yes, it is always a lot of fun with them.
You've been a digital nomad since 2011, right? So it wasn't like you had kids first and then set off on the road. You literally were a digital nomad and then had kids on the road.
Exactly, yes. I've basically run through all the phases of this lifestyle. I started it off as a solo traveler, digital nomad. And then I met my partner after 1 year of solo traveling. And then we traveled for a while about for almost 5 years together. And then the kids came along.
What was the experience of like meeting someone on the road and then like dating on the like because you were a solo traveler, I'm assuming, they were a solo traveler as well. So it's like, do you like how do you know what I mean? Did you guys decide to like, hey, we're gonna travel together from now on? Did you meet up in different places? Like, how was that process?
Yeah, that was quite interesting, to be honest. We met in a really yeah, a surreal setting in the desert of Chile, so in the Atacama Desert. And it's I mean, for those of you who have traveled through, it's a really mm, very small but cute, very interesting place. And a lot of people get stuck there because they say this place has something really special. And I know before we started talking, or this podcast, I told you that I was stuck in Mexico too. So it happens to me. It has happened to me many times. Now, for example, I'm stuck in Thailand. Um, and yes, but I believe that not only like when you live this lifestyle, actually the locations they pick you. It's not the
Mhm.
other way around. So sometimes it's really you have a plan and then you want to move on and then you realize, oh no, there's something more to it. And in that case, there was something more to it, aka my current partner or my partner and the dad of my sons. And so I was traveling through it and he was there on a mission to actually go to Brazil, and he was just also getting stuck there because someone offered him a job, and he was just in the mindset of traveling and reevaluating his opportunities, and he didn't want to really stay there, but then he found it interesting and he said, okay, I'm going to stay here for a few weeks. And then the same happened to me. I decided I stay for a while, and I actually was about to go back to Germany because it was at the end of my first travel year, and I had no intention to actually keep traveling. In fact, when I left in 2011, I said to everyone, okay, I'm just going to go on a quick break.
That's how it
Within the
always
next
starts.
3 months, I'm going to be back. So, in these 3 months, they turned into forever. and, and yeah, but I had an open ticket, like the flight ticket required me to always keep moving into one direction, and then also use up my flights until by the end of the first of 1 year. So I was in this position. I met this dream partner,
I
right?
right.
uh, and and then my time was ticking out because my ticket, I think I had only a week left. And I said, okay, listen, well, we openly talked about it because what can you do? I mean, yes, you meet people on the road, and yes, you sometimes feel like, oh, there's more to it. But in this case, I was so sure, and apparently he was too, because up until today he hasn't changed his mind. Uh,
So did you guys
so I
start traveling together from that point?
At first, no, because since he had this job in the desert, and I said, well, I'm running out of funds, because I only had planned to up until 6 months max, and then I was stretching my budget quite a bit. And then I said, okay, I can stay with you if I find a job. And back then, I didn't have the mindset of finding a remote job at all. I didn't even know that there was such a thing. I mean, yes, I've heard about online work and so on, but I wasn't in that mindset. So I was looking for a normal job, and I was just handing in my CV in, I was walking around in hotels and restaurants, bars, and so I was looking for the average backpacker job. And then this on the very same day, the first day I was doing that, one of those boutique hotels called me back and said, okay, I'm not looking for a receptionist, but I see that you have a background in marketing. Can you help us? We need a blog for our website and such. And then I said, okay, this is going to be challenging, marketing in Spanish, but yeah, I took the job. They contracted me for a couple of months, and then I got, yeah, itchy feet again, and we decided to keep moving. And then we started traveling together. Yeah, we roamed around the world. I don't know how many times.
And so 5 years you said into your relationship is kind of when you guys had kids. And what I'm really interested to hear about is like at this stage, what was the thought process when you were pregnant? Was it like, okay, we're going to keep traveling and then eventually this baby's going to pop out somewhere in the world? Or was it like we need to go back to Germany or wherever your partner is from? I'm not exactly sure where he's from, but was it like we're going to have, we're going to go back to our country of origins to have this kid? Or were you like set on having a kid somewhere while you were traveling?
So my partner is from Chile, and we decided. I mean, we looked at our biological watch and said, okay, we're not getting any younger. What's gonna happen? Are we gonna have kids or not? And I think the key moment for us to actually discuss this topic was when we were together on a nomad event, and there were a bunch of people bringing up that topic, and some of them were talking about things like, we should create a nomadic school for kids and stuff. And then I was like, come on, guys, is that really a thing? Is that gonna happen? But it started to create, something in my head and a possibility. And when other people were talking about it, I actually allowed it into my thought process and into my world. Before I was thinking that we were gonna be going on like the way we used to, and then maybe stop and then have kids or not. It wasn't always clear if we had kids or not. And then once we decided, we were actually in the Philippines, and on the way, we were just leaving Europe. We were on the way from the Philippines. There was also a conference that I attended, um, and yeah, and then I found I was pregnant, and we were on the way to Australia because we met someone who was offering me a job, more like a partnership for their PR agency. And then I thought, okay, so here's the thing. This sounds like something more stable, an opportunity as well, because I wanted to try out something new. And I had been taking on a lot of like freelancing jobs in very different areas, copywriting, editing, translating, social media marketing, PR. So a lot of different things. And then she was exactly the replica of the agency that I used to work back in Germany. So I thought, okay, I love Australia, we always wanted to go back, let's do that, have our kid there. And then when we were in the middle of, yeah, organizing our paperwork, we were sitting in Bali then, getting closer to Australia, and yeah, getting ready for our visa stuff. And I actually got news from my mom that she fell sick, and she was diagnosed with cancer. And I was like, okay, whoa. I think I was 5 months pregnant, and very emotional for someone. Well, if you have ever been pregnant, if anyone was there listening pregnant, you know what I mean. So there's a roller coaster of emotions going on, and you're like not the same person anymore. And I was feeling such a strong need to go back home to see my mom. And it was shortly before Christmas too, and I had been away for an entire like 5 years nonstop. I hadn't seen my family back then. And so the decision was made. We canceled our flights to Australia. We went to back to, oh, not back, yeah, we went to Germany. And and I decided that I wanted to hang around for a while to yeah, accompany my mom, but also give them the opportunity, my mom and dad, to actually get to know their grandchild. It was their
Mm.
first grandchild. I do have an older brother, but he got his kids after mine. So, anyways, it was almost a year that we hang out there, and this was really like a very long time for me.
Would
Um,
you recommend that people who are thinking about having kids and who are nomadic, would you recommend that they go back to their birth country or wherever it is that they have citizenship or anything like that? Or would you say no, like it's fine to have kids while you're on the road? I don't know if you had a different experience with your second kid. What would you say? Like, is it like what would be your advice to that?
well, um, It 100% depends on your health insurance. If you have health insurance that covers births, and or you have a certain amount of money where you say, okay, I don't care how much it costs, we will be fine financially, then do it wherever. Like I would have
Mm,
been, I totally fine with giving birth in Australia, and my second son, he was actually born in on one islands, La Palma. So I don't think, I mean, you can have kids everywhere in the world. People are getting kids everywhere. So why would you not be able to have your kids somewhere else unless you feel not comfortable with the system there, the health, or you're not comfortable with the nurses not speaking your mother language, because some people are like, I have a very, maybe I'm lucky, but I have a very down to earth mindset when it comes to giving birth. I was so convinced that I can do it on my own. Like the first one was rather like I'm doing what other people are telling me, but I was going against my gut feeling, and this made me stay at home until I was almost ready to give birth, and then I was only
mm,
like 5 minutes in the hospital, and my son was coming out. and, and then I thought, okay, so hang on, with my second son, I will do it differently, because the the hopping in a car getting to the hospital was actually the most annoying part and most painful part during my first uh, process,
yeah.
labor, right? So yeah, my second son, he was born at home, and we were actually alone. That was because the midwife, she wasn't quick enough. He was there pretty fast. But it what my point is, like, if you are trusting your instincts, if you are good with making room for the possibility that you can do it anywhere, it's like with everything in life, it's your mindset. And having your kids can be done anywhere, I'd
What
say.
about like citizenships for the kids, right? There's like, I know in the United States, for example, you literally get citizenship if you're born within the geographic area of the US, which is kind of insane that like anyone, any tourist can have a kid in the US and that kid will have US citizenship, I believe. What like was that something that you guys like thought about? Was like where are we having the kids? Like how are they getting citizenships? Like are they German citizens? How did that process kind of work with having kids outside of the countries that you and your partner are from?
Yeah, I mean, I know people that they strategically went to countries in order to become a citizen for their children, and it really works very differently in depending on which country you're choosing. For example, Costa Rica is one of the countries that give you also citizenship, and we were tempted to. There was a time when we thought, oh, let's have a third one.
Just to get
We
that
got rid.
citizenship?
Just to get that citizenship, yeah, and have like a nice base, home base there. But in our case now with Spain, my second son, he's also German, and he has until he turns 18 years old, he has the opportunity to actually decide between either the Spanish or the German citizenship, but it's not automatic. So it's quite tough to actually, just go to a country and then decide to have a child there, because you need a visa that allows you to stay as long for as long as you're pregnant in the country without getting into trouble. And then when you are entering a country and you are 7 months pregnant, they're gonna want, they're saying, hey, where's your return flight?
Mm,
Show me your ticket. What's your plan? Why are you coming? This is not so easy. And some countries are really cautious, and I'm also not sure how you would go about this legally, like without stressing you out, because yeah, if are on a tourist visa and you're just aiming to get citizenship for your kid, I don't recommend it.
sure. So how are the kids now? You have two kids. You said they're toddlers, they're still younger. How are they reacting to you guys constantly moving? Because I know there's people that I'm friends with who have kids and they just cannot even imagine the idea of traveling with them because it would be so stressful. And here you are on the complete opposite end where you're like, I'm not just traveling, I'm basically traveling all the time, or at least very often. So what's that like? How are the kids essentially like reacting to you guys moving so often?
To be honest, they don't know any other lifestyle. So my he's been like we took him on his first trip. Like I said, we were kind of based in Germany for his first year, but we took him on his first road trip to Italy from when he was not even 3 months. We wanted to make sure that he's travel proof, and he was. And then we took a bunch of different short trips, like only 1 month stays within Europe. And I think the more that we as parents are, relaxed throughout this travel phase, the children, they're just seeing us, they're a little copy of us and our emotions. So as long as I'm enjoying myself and I'm not stressed out that I have two kids with me, like going on an airplane or organizing our next stay, why would they be stressed? I mean, until now, they really all they need is mom and dad and their toys. Um, my eldest is happiest when he has his toy cars with him, and as long as they are all in his suitcase, he's good to go. And he's like, "Where are we gonna go next?" Today, we just moved into a new place, and it's just within the same island that we've been here. I mean, we got stuck here due to COVID. We decided deliberately not to move anywhere else because it's pretty safe here, and an awesome island. And but we've moved and changed places quite often, and he's always the one who's like, okay, yeah, let's stay here, this is a nice house, here we can, I think it's actually doing them a favor in being open-minded, not being scared towards change. I don't know. I until today I only see benefits, and this common belief that you have to like have your child in one place all the time for security, and they need to grow boundaries and all these things. I don't know who says that. Uh, these are the common sentences that people are saying when they're living a normal life. So I don't think so. Like for us, for now, until today, it feels okay. I'm not saying that we're never gonna settle down, or that when my children are really older and speak up what they want and say, okay, I'm sick of living out of the suitcase. We wanna really have our room or whatever steadiness they're requiring. Well, then we have to discuss it and see what we're gonna make out of it. Um,
What
it's
about
yeah.
schooling? Because I think that that's another big question, right? Is like, hey, my kids are getting older, they need to go to school. So have you guys thought of a plan around that? Like, are you homeschooling them? Are you planning on like putting them in a school wherever you're at and then pulling them out when you're ready to move on? Like, what is your plan around that? And what would you suggest to other people as like resources to essentially come up with their own plan for that?
Yeah. Well, it's still a little bit far away for us. Well, a bit over a year. We still have time to think about it, but of course we have um, thought about it as well. But there are many options, like word schooling. You just said it, unschooling. You can have, depending on where you go and what communities you find, it is really anything goes. Like, again, it depends on how you go about it. If you are a person who needs that security and says, okay, my kids needs to go from A to Z, the exact same career, and needs to go to the school like anyone else, well then, yeah, of course you need to do that. And probably you wouldn't want to start the digital nomad lifestyle in the first place, I guess. But for someone who is okay with living an alternative lifestyle, will find a way to make it work also with education. We have not sent him to any kindergarten or preschool yet. We have offered it to him because there are some people in our community here, well, it's not really community, but we've met obviously other families who are also here on the island for a bit longer due to COVID, and they send the children to the kindergartens here. Um, some don't, and for the friends of my son who are in kindergarten, I always, well, when says, "Can we go and play with Emma? Can we go and play with Susie?" Then I have to say, "No, they're kindergarten." And he always said, "Okay, that's fine. I don't want to go there, but as soon as they come play with me in the afternoons, uh, I'm happy." Um, the moment he says, "I want to check out and see what it's like," we actually went there, showed him, "This is the kindergarten. This is what other children are doing in the mornings. This is what you could be doing if you wanted to." And then he asked me, "Does that mean that I'm going to stay here alone on my own and you guys are going to go home?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course. You play with the other children." And he's like, "Nah, I'm not going to do that." So,
What about you? So you mentioned friends and, having friends. And I think that's the other sort of concern. And you've heard it a lot
yeah,
during COVID, I think, as well, about this concern of keeping the kids home, and like remote learning is keeping them from socializing with other kids. And like, I think that that's been a topic that's been brought up a lot during COVID. Like, how do they
yeah.
make friends, when you guys are moving, and then also the other families that also have kids are moving? Like, what is that situation like? Do they continue being friends with people they met? What has been, your experience with that and your kids' experience with that?
So the funny thing is, there, I mean, kids are really amazing little creatures. You, or let's put it this way, you as a grown up, you always come up with those fears about your children that they would react a certain way in certain circumstances. So for example, I was also afraid, my son, he connected with one girl really well, and it looked like his first love, and they played every day, and they were like, "Oh, I want to see her." And I was like, "Okay, this is going to be tough, the moment that we have to say goodbye." And then the day came, and I said, "Okay, we're gonna go move on, and you're probably not gonna see her for the next few months, or I didn't want to say forever because you never know. And then also, the truth is, you see each other in the world somewhere always again
Right.
if you are in that travel mode and in a network and stuff. So, but I told him this, and he said, "Okay." Um, so until today, he has never like really talked about this in an upset way. He sometimes asks, "And how is she doing?" And then if he asks about her, I tell him where she is, and then we can also keep in touch and talk on the internet. I mean, this has been so easy, and it's never been easier to keep in touch. And also for children, they can use my phone, the computer, switch on Zoom or WhatsApp, and yeah, there's the little friend, and then they have a little chat.
Do you guys ever travel to get or travel to places based on where your kids' friends are going? Because, like, for example, my wife and I, we
Yes.
totally go someplace because, hey, we have friends that are going there. It would be fun to go there together. Is that something that you guys have almost developed with other parents and their families?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually the reason why we came here, because this island, the first time we came here, I was actually pregnant with my first son. And then we realized, oh, there's a lively community of travel families coming always in the winter time when it's cold in Europe. So um, when we realized that, we decided to come back whenever we have kids. And yeah, and so this is the second year that we're here after, yeah, after this
Mhm.
realization. And then there's another place, like where my son was born, my second son. That's also a very um, hot spot, I'd say, for digital nomad families. And there are a bunch of different places around the
And
world
where
where
is that? Where is that place?
La Palma on the Canary Islands.
Okay, got it.
That is, yeah, camels, and I have a few other spots where I know if I go there, there's a community where we could, yeah, find easily friends and for them as well.
You mentioned when we were talking a little bit earlier that one of the times when the discussion about having kids with your partner came up was because you guys were at a nomadic event and this idea was brought up of like a nomadic school, right? And
Mhm.
since then, is that something that's been created? Is that something that there's like like that exists now where like kids of nomadic families can go to school?
Uh, that's a good question, and I should actually look into this. I know someone told me the other day um, that there are some people that are still discussing it, but I'm not sure if they have launched anything like it. Um, but yeah, you're right. I should follow up on that thought because it would be a nice solution. The idea was basically to have a few bases around the world, but then travel families can obviously stop by and get education for their children. Um, yeah, now that you say it, thank you. It's a good
And
reminder.
I would think that now with like COVID having taken place and so many kids having gone on to like learn remotely for at least a year, or for some period of the year, I feel like that would be something that a lot more people are possibly discussing because I think there's going to be a lot more people who are like remote or looking to do some version of like living as a nomad, right? Like maybe it's not like the full thing, but it's like, hey, we like to bounce between three different places. And I would imagine there must be way more discussions happening around that. There must be way more families doing this. Have you noticed more discussion of this topic? I understand that it's COVID and that, you know, if there are a lot more families who are considering becoming nomadic, they might not have started just yet because we're still quite in the midst of COVID. But have you noticed an uptick in discussions of being a nomadic family?
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely tell that. I mean, I might be biased because I'm in that topic and in that scene, but when you look on social media and the discussions in the relevant groups there, people are looking for ways to make this work because they know, I mean, for so many people it has happened that their 9 to 5 job was, not the solution for stability, and so creating a an online career or an online business and then taking it anywhere, and especially then having that freedom with your family, that is some sort of dream for many now, especially now. And yes, I definitely can confirm that this has increased.
How do you see life progressing, right? Because I think I specifically know of a family that are family friends that when their kid was younger, they were traveling a lot together. They were constantly nomadic. And then when their kid got older, kind of like that early teens, they decided to go back to where they were from because their kid wanted to, I think, experience life and go through high school and all that kind of stuff. Is that kind of what you think is going to happen or like I think that's really the stage in which there's a lot of question marks of like, okay, what do we do at that point as the kids get older? Is that something that you've thought about?
I thought about it, but I honestly, my philosophy for life in general is like I don't want to worry about things that are so far away because there can happen. I mean, so many things can happen in between, and I can make a plan, and plans never turn out to work, especially when you live in such a yeah, a way that we are doing it. So yes, I want to know all my options, and yes, I want to be open-minded towards every possibility. Like I said before, when I hear that one of my family members is upset about the way we're living, then that's the moment when I want to start talking about an alternative way. But yeah, as long as we're still happy and enjoying it the way it is, I don't want to worry too much about it. But yeah, I should mention that there's many people and families who we are friends with, and they have teenage children. And I don't know. It's always when I meet these teenagers, they're so great and awesome personalities. So I'd say if you have teenagers and there's no recipe for one pill that you can swallow and then it will work, but um I'm sure they also benefit from just giving it a try, and also making them see the world, especially like with your family, and then even connecting with other families who have those the same age children could be a way of taking away the fear that your teenagers will not go along with your idea. But I think if you tell a teenager that, hey, you don't have to go to school and you will get to see the world, there's a slight chance that they are actually on your side with this one.
I could, yeah, I think if that had been
Yeah,
offered to me at some point in my life, I may have taken, my parents up
right.
on it. But what about let's talk a little bit about working with kids, right? You have a business. I'm assuming that your partner is also working. How does that work with raising kids as well? Do you guys have a schedule? Like how do you really like fit both, taking care of the kids and running a business together?
Yes, that is a ever an ongoing challenge every day. But we have come up with a really great system that works for us because well, yeah, my partner also works, so we were both doing, like, he's a web designer, and I do marketing and social media marketing coaching, but I help also people who want to actually start the digital nomad lifestyle and help them with their questions. So I do a bit of a combination of both, like social media guidance and the digital nomad lifestyle guidance. And I mean, for both of us, it's really, we're in a fortunate position where we can actually move our work schedule around our family schedule. So it's not crucial for me to sit in front of my computer at 7 a.m. in the morning or 9 a.m. in the morning on a Monday. And to be honest, today was Thursday, yes, and I made a Sunday out of it because I decided to um, not do any type of work other than this interview today, so feels special. This is the only thing that I'm yeah, sitting in front of the computer today. And that is I think the beauty of this lifestyle, that if you have a yeah, um, make yourself the freedom, if you create a business that allows you to not be dependent on time so much, then you just create your own schedule. And the way we do it is we discuss every week before the week starts, and we have a mutual, like a family calendar. Just Google Calendar, basically, where both of us, we put our appointments in there, and then if we see that there's something urgent in my partner's calendar, then I obviously block some time and know that I have to back him up and take care of the kids, and vice versa. But if there's nothing urgent going on during the week, then we just split the days. The days are basically, if I watch the kids in the mornings, he gets to work in the mornings, and then I do the afternoons.
Mm.
And if there's really so much to do, then I sit down at night and work a few couple of hours before I go to bed. But usually, Yeah, I'd say with 4 or maximum 5 hours per day, I'm pretty okay.
I have
Yes.
heard multiple people who have kids tell me the greatest productivity hack in life is to have a kid because suddenly you become extremely productive. And like I have
Oh
friends
my
who have kids
gosh.
that are like, I don't know what I spent my days on before I had a kid. So I have heard this from multiple people who have kids that are like, yeah, suddenly I can get my work done in like 3 hours because like I have to. So
Oh my gosh. Yes, I've never really thought about it. Yeah, but it's so true. Um, because yeah, before you can, browse the internet, open your Facebook, and then after an hour you say, okay, now I start working. Now you don't do that anymore. You really, okay, I have from X to X, and this is my my window, and I need to get this done. And yes, that's actually a good point of view.
So what's next for you guys? I know that you've been in Thailand for quite a while now because of COVID and you've kind of, you just said that you moved to a new place with the vaccine around the corner and hopefully the world opening up a little bit again. Where do you think where are you off to next? Is that something you guys have thought about or you're staying still for now?
To be honest, we think about it, of course, like I guess everyone else, a lot, but I haven't really come up with, or we haven't really come up with that plan. And last year, like by the end of last year, I actually thought, okay, so I think we will visit grandma and grandpa in Germany by May. Now it's March, and I don't feel like moving. It's just, with two kids especially, you don't want to travel to the other end of the world, getting through all those COVID tests and then risking also, you know, that we're enclosed and locked down in a place for quite some time. My biggest fear would be like getting there and then they say, okay, now you can't go anywhere else and you're stuck in Germany. That's my biggest fear, because yeah, I don't want to be there long term. And so unless it's not going to change for the better and the world relaxes and it's obvious that you can move on whenever you want to, I don't think that we're going to leave here, because especially, I mean, Thailand in general has been doing really great during COVID, and we were lucky that here on this island there has been no case, and we have
Wow.
not had any restrictions, like other than putting on a mask when you go into the supermarket. But other than that, we're out there every day. We're meeting other peoples. I mean, it's been really fortunate, and we would be crazy to actually leave this place in order to go somewhere. My brother and my family in Germany, they send me their stories and tell me, we'd love to see you, but stay wherever you for how long you can, because it's not gonna be fun for you guys being locked up in an apartment building. They know me. I mean, they
Right.
know they know I would be not good. Yeah. So no plan so far. The plan is staying put until we can make a plan again.
Well, Julia, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun, and we got to cover a topic that I've never had the chance to discuss otherwise, and I've never had anyone to ask these
Sure.
questions. But before we, jump off, I do want to find out a little bit more about what you do because you did mention that you do social media marketing and like training for entrepreneurs. So if people are interested in that, where can they find out more about what you do? And then also, you mentioned that you help people, with the digital nomad transition. So where can people find out more about those things?
Yeah, sure. So I do have a website that has been my baby, so to speak, since for the longest. Like I said, it started off as a travel blog, and now I just have it as a online portfolio kind of thing, and it's called. You can find it Jay Jetter. This is my brand name, because they used to call me Jay, and I made a jet setter word thing out of it. And yeah, I write a lot about traveling there, but also you can obviously get in touch through that. And I'm also on social media with this handle, Jade Jetter. And what I basically do is I look at people's online presence and do audit their Facebook profiles, for example, or Instagram performance, and then I help them tweak in order to get better results. What if it's more reach, if it's more sales, more connections with their clients, and so on. And I started this coaching business a couple of years ago because I found out that I love working with people. So one-on-one sessions have been the most fun for me. And I used to do a lot of social media management and strategy support as owners and onlinepreneurs. And this is still a service that I have on offer, but I'm now promoting more the one-on-one coachings because that's where my passion is and where I get the most fun out of it. So that is the one side of the coaching business. And then the other one is always a side effect because some people find me simply when they Google digital nomad coach or digital nomad mom or these type of things, and then they ask me questions how they can actually make it work, this lifestyle, and similar questions than you are asking, right? But then for their specific case. And this is obviously a very fun coaching for me as well because I get to talk about it and I'm passionate about this lifestyle.
I will put all the links that you mentioned to your website in the show notes. So anybody who's interested listening can check that out. But Julia, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we bump into each other somewhere.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great. It was a lot of fun. And yes, enjoy Merida. Maybe we'll cross paths someone.